Most parents that I know want to raise happy, healthy kids. So how do you raise a secure child parenting with empathy? As a therapist who treats trauma and addiction, it's obvious to me that children who have more love actually experience less problems as an adult. How do you give love to your child? Well, empathy is the way for your child to know that you really do love them. So I'm going to teach you what empathy is and how to practice that with your child. I gotta start with my parent guilt disclaimer. And maybe I just do this for myself because I have 4 kids. But when I talk about being a better parent, oftentimes it can make you think about all of the things that you're failing at as a parent. The truth is that if you're watching this video, you're probably a pretty good parent. So notice that parent guilt come up, realize that it's going to be there. You're not a perfect parent. Nobody is. Put it to the side so we can learn together and learn how to empathize with our children. I'm going to give you specific things that you can do to connect to your children. If you practice these things and they work, then please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's nothing more that will make a child feel loved than empathy. Empathy is connecting with a person on an emotional level. It's feeling something with them. It's not feeling bad for them. It's actually feeling something with them. And when somebody feels like you're feeling this with me, you feel understood, you feel seen, you feel validated, you feel important. And when a child feels those things, they feel loved. So I'm going to talk to you about the specific things that you can do to do that with your children, and also about the things that get in the way. You don't have to agree with your child to empathize with your child. Just the other night, my 5-year-old son, was furious at me because I made him put his train set away and go to bed. It was late at night, it was bedtime, we were like an hour past bedtime, but he was mad because he didn't want to put his train away. So I didn't agree that he should be able to stay up and play with his train. However, I could still empathize with him. He had an emotion. He was frustrated, he was mad, he was angry at me. All of those emotions are valid and they're real. If I were him and I wanted to play with my train and somebody were forcing me to put it away and go to bed, then I'd probably feel those things too. In fact, I've felt similar emotions like that before. So I can understand why he feels those things. But at the same time, as his dad, I can still put him to bed. It's really important that I still have my boundaries. I know where I stop and he begins. I know what I need to do as a dad and what's best for him, but I can still feel what he's feeling with him. Empathy can take work. It's energy. So when you empathize with somebody, you're actually stopping and making space to connect to them. And it can take energy. And there can be a lot of things that we'd rather do than stop and resonate with somebody, especially if they're feeling pain or sadness or anger. We might not want to stop and connect to that. But when we do, it shows love. So one of the things that we do to avoid empathy is we just fix it. If you just fix everything for your child all the time, that's not good for them. You might be alleviating their pain, but 1, they're not learning how to work through the challenge, and 2, they're not feeling connected to you. You're fixing it because you're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable that they're uncomfortable. So instead of just fixing it, empathize with them and teach them how to fix it themselves. Here's a rule as a parent that works across the board all the time. Never tell your child that they shouldn't be feeling what they're feeling. And it happens all the time. Well, it was just that. You shouldn't be that hurt. You shouldn't be that sad. You shouldn't be that angry. But they are. They feel that. So instead of trying to correct them into the emotion that they should feel, allow them to feel what they're feeling. So don't should on them. Replace what they should feel with validation of what they do feel. Remember, you don't have to agree with them, but all of their emotions are valid. They're real. They're real for them, so they're valid. Another common one is to just ignore them. That's not empathy. It's a defense mechanism for us to just shut them out, to just not even acknowledge that they're there, not acknowledge that they're feeling anything. Now, I get it. I get it that kids can get wearing and they're always feeling emotions. You don't have to acknowledge every single little emotion that they have. But if you're always shutting them out and you're always ignoring them, they're not going to feel understood and they're not going to feel loved. And lastly, don't just placate them and numb them out. So what I mean by this is if every time they're feeling hurt or sad or angry, you quickly throw media in front of their face so that they get distracted and they don't have to feel that anymore. Or you quickly give them a treat, because if they have a treat, then they're going to be happy. That's a problem. You're fixing their problem with numbing behaviors. You're actually feeding addictive behaviors to your child. So instead of numbing them out, actually step into the pain with them and start to empathize with them. So don't numb them. Now at this point, your parent guilt should really be going because we've all done these things. I've done these things with my kids many times. And I know better, but yet I still fall into those traps. So recognize that you're not going to be perfect and you're going to do these things, okay? And even if you do these things, it doesn't mean you're going to screw your kids up. But recognizing that and then shifting back into empathy will be awesome for your kids. One of the first things to do when you empathize with your child is to get on their level. Now, I mean literally get on their level. Kneel down, look at them in the eye. Don't be standing above them, telling them what should be or how things are. But listen. So you get down on their level and you're actually taking in what they're saying as opposed to you telling them what is. So listen and get on their level is the first do. Once you're on their level and you're listening, you're already starting to de-escalate the emotions. Usually a child amps up, and what they do with their emotion is they turn to the parent and they seek out love. Mom, Dad, do you feel it? Do you feel me? Do you see me? Am I important? Am I seen? When you get on their level and you listen, their emotion starts to get processed and it starts to de-escalate. Next, what I want you to do is validate them. Validating somebody is pretty easy, actually. It can be done with a nod of the head. And that nod of the head is saying, I understand. Or you can say things like, that makes sense to me. Or you're not crazy for feeling that way. Let's take the example of my son and the train. If I were to validate him, I could say something like, man, buddy, I would totally be bummed too if I had to go to bed and put my train away. That's really hard. And in that moment, he's going to feel like, oh, it's not me versus you, Dad. You actually love me. And you're also holding a boundary with me. So validating somebody is actually giving them permission to feel what they feel and saying to them, it's okay, you're not crazy. The next thing to do that can be very helpful is hold them. And I mean physically hold them, sometimes, depending on the circumstance. Your nonverbals communicate empathy more than your verbals do. So if you hold somebody, you hold space for them, you nod, you cry with your child, that all can be empathy. When I say hold them, you hold them physically, but you also hold space for them, that they can feel whatever they're feeling. And non-verbally, you're showing them, I care, I'm here with you, I'm listening. So the next do is to hold them. The last do when you empathize with your child is to understand them. It's really cool. And this happens with your children, with your spouse, with your coworkers. When whoever you're listening to feels understood, there's this feeling of relief. It just feels good. And usually what's happening when somebody feels understood is they're nodding their head. They're saying, yeah, that's what it's like for me. You get me. When they feel like you get them and that you're understanding them, that's where the magic happens. They feel seen and they feel understood. So the next do is to understand them. I got this message on Instagram just a couple of weeks ago, and it was an old acquaintance that I had, and she said, it's incredible, Brannon. I listened to one of your podcasts about empathy with my children, and my son, who's always acting out, he's always a problem. He's always messing things up or yelling or teasing his siblings. I decided no matter what, all I was going to do for a week was empathize with him, just connect to him, just validate him, understand him, help him feel loved. So she did this. She messaged me after 2 days of it, and she said, his behaviors are completely changing already. He's not teasing as much. He's not yelling as much. He's so much better as a child. And the fact of the matter is he has always been a good child. He's just lacking some love. He just wanted some understanding. And once he gets that understanding, then his behaviors change and things work better for parent and child. So empathy is key to parenting. In fact, I think it's one of the most important things for your child to feel loved. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you want more content, more in-depth content that will help your relationship, then check out my relationship reset. You can find it in the link below.